Hello, YouTube. I finally saw 28 Years Later, and I managed to go in as spoiler-free as I could. I did not watch 28 Weeks Later beforehand, but I did watch 28 Days Later back in February for my Black History video, which is one of my favorite quote-unquote good movies of all time. So I was really looking forward to this since it was one of my most anticipated horror movies of the year, and I'm really happy I was able to get out to see it at my local theater since they don't usually get in a lot of horror movies in general. So let's talk about it. If you're a fan of the originals, then this definitely is a must-watch that you'll probably like as much as I did. But if you're not a big fan of the originals, then you might not like this one either because it is written and directed by the same people, making it feel very much like a 28 Days Later movie, which I loved and made me very happy to see. I heard some people say that it suffered from first act syndrome, which I disagree with, but it did have a solid first act, which was nice to see since they totally could have just started right in the middle of a lot of action, then just ran with it from there, but they didn't, and I appreciate that they didn't. As someone who often complains about movies not putting enough time or effort into things like character development, world building, and their first act, this basically felt like a 1 hour long first act followed by a 1 hour long second act movie, which I absolutely loved. Though it did feel like they are setting up the next movie to start off fast and then run with it from there if that's the type of film directing that you're into. I am not, especially if they skip any steps, which to me just feels lazy. But this movie was all of those steps that you take at the start of a movie when building a story. And yes, there is going to be a second part to this that is coming out next year, so we don't need to wait that long for it. But for me, it needs to come out next year if they are taking this route. Because if it gets delayed, then that may very well change how I feel about this movie at this time, and their decision to make it a two-parter or even a potential trilogy from what I'm hearing. And if that's going to be the case, please just get them out fast and don't make us wait too long for a conclusion. Also, I heard a lot of people say that it had a bunch of side stories, making it feel like it was all over the place for them, but it's not like The Walking Dead in that regard. It just had a bunch of new characters that would come and go quite often with very little backstories to them, but the main story was about a child, and it did stick with him throughout the entire movie. It doesn't really bounce around from one story to the next like some people may have described it as doing. The music was all over the place, but it did feel like it fit in with the franchise. The acting was good, especially for the main character being a child actor in his first role. The gore was good with pretty much all practical special effects. The zombies looked good, though they were all naked, and I know they are the infected, not zombies. I could tell that the movie was filmed on an iPhone in some of the faster-paced scenes, which felt like they were dropping frames when bouncing around too much. But it did visually look good overall other than that. The idea of using iPhones really helped recapture the aesthetic of the first movie that was all shot on a home camcorder from back when it initially came out. My biggest complaint would be that there was a scene involving a smartphone that just felt out of place if the apocalypse happened in 2002 when they made the original 28 Days Later. But the payoff was for a joke that made me laugh, so I gave it a pass, as much as I know a lot of people probably won't, because a movie like this doesn't need to have a no signal or one bar left trope in it at all if the apocalypse happened 28 years ago. And that's my review. Do I think you should go watch it in the theaters? Yes, absolutely. Especially if you're a fan of the originals like I am, then this is a must-watch. If you're just getting into the franchise now, you can get by with just watching 28 Days Later, which you should do before seeing this one, so I'll include a link to Just Watch in the description below so you can find out where it is playing in your country. But keep in mind that there are a lot of things in the original 28 Days Later that at the time of its release was the first time they had been done in a zombie movie, and since then, a lot of zombie TV shows and movies have copied them, not the other way around. Also, there's a bit of green screening that I don't feel is aged very well in the original, but it doesn't look bad, and it's still an amazing movie, especially for something that came out in 2002 that was filmed on a home camcorder. But that's going to be it from me. It's so nice to get a review out for something that's currently playing in the theaters for a change. I do go to all the horror movies that come to my local theater, but because they are so few and far between, I am thinking about starting to review movies in this format when they come to streaming. If that's something you are interested in, please let me know in the comments below. And if you're into B-movies, cult classics, hidden gems, and horror, or just in the mood for something different than what the mainstream media has to offer you, like and subscribe. Or join now that you can. And thanks for watching.